Hi everyone, I thought I would do a quick video for you to introduce you to all the new products that Sizzix have just brought out. It's a fabulous big launch of products, great range and kind of mixed media products really, and some beautiful foils and flakes and pastes and waxes. It's a really fabulous selection. It was launched on Create and Craft last week and Pete and I both had some shows to sort of launch them. And I did a show on Sunday where I really went back to basics and kind of went through each one and explained, you know, as if you didn't know anything about these products. And that's what I'm going to do now, because I've had quite a few messages after the show to say that some of you had never used any mixed media products before and you really appreciated it, that, you know, being that basic. So that's what I'm going to do now. So you can see the selection in front of me here, and you can see we've got all these different pastes. We've got Prism Paste, Expand Paste, Dimensional Paste, a 3D Adhesive, a Gesso Primer and a Pearlescent Medium. That's kind of the more medium type things. We've got some gorgeous flakes. All of the colours for the metallic products such as the waxes, the flakes and the foils, they are all in gold, rose gold and silver. So you can see the beautiful colours here. I've decanted my gold into a bigger pot actually because I was using them on some projects. We've got some fabulous waxes. You can see the gorgeous colours again. We've got gold, silver, rose gold. We've got decorative foil sheets and we've got aluminium metal sheets. I am going to run you through each product and explain it fully, so don't panic if this all looks like a whole load of stuff and quite overwhelming. So I'm going to start with these mediums. So let me just clear my desk. So the first thing we're going to look at, we'll start with what's probably the one product most people will have heard of, and that's Gesso Primer. Now our Sizzix Gesso comes in a lovely big pot, and the first thing you'll notice is that there's a little plastic lid inside. Don't throw that away, because keeping that on will really help to preserve your gesso and stop it drying out. So if you get in the habit of keeping that on there and putting it on and off each time. Gesso, if you're not familiar with it, has a few different uses really. It's a primer, and if you go to an art shop and buy a canvas, it will quite often say that it's pre-prepared or primed, and that will mean it's got a coat of gesso on it. If you buy a canvas that isn't prepared, you would give it a coat of this, and it just helps the surface. When you then apply paints, they will stick nicely to the surface. So in crafting, it's got quite a few uses really. If you think of all the sort of MDF and chipboard pieces we use, if you want to go on to use sprays and things on something like this, then giving it a nice coat, base coat of gesso, it will mean that if you're using different types of paints, they're going to sort of stick well to this. But if you're just painting it with, say, acrylic paints, by adding a coat of gesso, you're kind of sealing that MDF. And especially if you're using something like MDF, which is quite porous, you'll find when you add your coloured acrylic paint on top of gesso, firstly, you'll probably only need one coat instead of two, because less will be absorbed in. But you'll also find that you get a stronger colour straight away, because you've got that nice white base behind it rather than, say, a darker colour. So it's really useful for lots of different projects, just as a primer. The other thing I like to do with it is I quite often use sort of rustic bits of card and cardboard in my work, and I'll die cut from sort of old cardboard boxes, and I do really like to just give them a bit of a distressed look by almost dry brushing some gesso on. So that's another good use for it. I've got another couple of bits here that I did before, and I'm going to die cut these, and I love when you've got all that corrugated look. So that's another use for it. The other thing about gesso, I'm going to bring in this piece that I made a couple of years ago actually, is that it's great for unifying different materials. I mentioned before that whatever you apply it to, it primes it, so you can then add other things. Well, for this journal, I've got the journal itself is made out of sort of craft, like chipboard, but I've got all these elements that I've added on. There's bits of lace, these are metal stars, and then amongst this I've got some plastic bits and bobs that were really quite brightly coloured, actually, quite awful. Got different beads, all sorts of different textures. And what I did is, once those were all stuck down and in place, and this is a bit of a plastic chandelier going on here, they all had a coat of gesso. So then when I added different ink sprays and some waxes, they all look the same type of finish. You know, you're not seeing any of the plastic. The paint has stuck to everything properly. So for that, gesso is invaluable. If you want to try any sort of mixed media, it's kind of an essential. So that's the gesso. I should mention as well about the Sizzix gesso in particular. You can see straight away this is a really quite bright opaque white, which is great because that means you know, when you are coating something, you do get a lovely quite opaque white finish on the first coat. So depending on what you're doing with it, you're probably going to get away with one coat. Because it is so thick, if you do just want to give something a thin coat, you can always water it down. It's water based, so it's going to go a long way. If you are familiar with gessos, I would say this is a heavy gesso, because there are different sort of types of gesso, different qualities. So this is a lovely thick creamy sort of heavy gesso. So that's the gesso. Oh, I've got one here actually where I demonstrated how well the acrylic paint goes on. That's just one coat of the acrylic on top of the gesso, and you can see straight away that really that colour's strong enough. I don't need a second coat. So that's the gesso. Next up, let's have a look at the paste. So we've got dimensional paste and expand paste. We'll look at the dimensional paste first. Now, dimensional paste, again, you've got that fabulous plastic lid to keep it from drying out. Again, you can see instantly this has got a lovely thick creamy texture. It's a lovely thick paste, so that means this is going to give you lovely dimension and texture for your projects. So let me grab some samples to show you. I did these before. I'll grab another bit of card that we can actually pop some on. So the first thing is, this is great if you just want to add texture to something. You can get your palette knife and smooth it on, and it's like plaster really. Lovely white opaque. Now I find that these sort of texture pastes do vary in quality, and I've got some that when I use them on craft card, which is my favourite kind of thing to use, they're not that white when they dry. This one does stay white, as you can see. These have been, I made these about a week ago, and I like that because there's nothing worse, I think, when you've kind of created a design and then find it sort of fading away into the background. So you can smooth it on to get texture. If you really want some texture on a project, you can stipple this, you can shape it however you want. So depending on, you know, what kind of texture you want to create, you can do this and it will hold its shape. As I say, I made this about a week ago, and it's got that lovely dimension. It hasn't kind of sunk into the card or anything. It stayed like that. In terms of drying time, if you're putting on a thin coat like this, that will be dry in about 5 or 10 minutes. If you're really heavily putting it on like that, you probably want to leave it half an hour or so to dry. And the other thing that's fabulous for this is to put it through stencils. So of course you not only get a lovely design in the background, but you've got that sort of texture to it. Great if you want to then add colour to it. You can use your sprays on it, and this, you know, you can wipe it off of this if you want to. Oh, another thing to mention is you can mix this to get colour. You can mix it with any of our acrylic paints, or you could add ink to it, anything you want to really. It's water based, so there's quite a lot of possibilities for mixing this to colour it. So that's the dimensional paste. Next one to look at is the expand paste. Now this one is really quite magical, and it's a fabulous dimensional paste that reacts to heat and it puffs up basically. Again, it's in the same kind of jar with this fabulous plastic lid, stop it drying out. But you'll notice when you look at this one, it's kind of a creamy colour. It will actually turn white when you heat it. and it's got like a gel sort of texture. Now this isn't a brand new pot, I've used this one quite a lot, but it kind of self levels in the pot as it settles. Now what you would do with this is, there are two ways to use it. I like to put it through a stencil, so let me get a stencil ready actually, because we'll make a little card while we're at it. So I'm going to place that on my card. Make sure I've put some semi-permanent adhesive on the back of this just to hold this down. So you can use this either wet or let it dry. So let's put some paste through this stencil, so we've got a wet one ready to go. And then I can show you one that is already done. There we go. Now you can see when it's wet, it's relatively clear actually. Just move that out of the way. It's relatively clear, and you can let that dry and then heat it with your heat tool. If you do that, it turns white and it's got quite a bit of dimension to it. Certainly more dimension. Let me bring back in the first one, the dimensional paste. You can see the difference there, that this one really is quite a lot higher in terms of the dimension. So that's if you let this dry for say 10 minutes and then heat it with your heat tool. That's the effect you're going to get. But if you don't wait for this to dry and you go straight in with your heat tool, you will get much more dimension, and it really will puff up quite a bit more. Almost like that expanding foam you get that you use in building, really. It's the best way to describe it. And also it depends how thickly you put it on, but you really can get some serious height with this if you heat it with your heat tool straight away. So let's bring back in and you can see the difference. So the one that I let dry before I heated it has got really nice dimension, but this one's, oh wait, not quite dry completely. This one's got the crazy height. Let me bring in a couple that I previously did. Now you can see here it's really got quite a lot of height and dimension. And for this one, I mixed it with our new acrylic paints. I haven't even shown you those yet. We are going to have a look at those. But I used this hibiscus creamy paint. And all I did was put a bit of the paint on my mat and then scooped some of the paste out and kind of mixed it together on my glass mat before putting it through the stencil. So, you know, think of the possibilities of different colours, different finishes. You could use your metallic paints with this. And then you've got the choice on what kind of dimension you want as well. So it's a really fun product, that one. So that's the expand paste. Let's pop the lid back on that one. Next, let's have a look at the Pearlescent Medium. Now I've pre-done a couple of those. This is a smaller pot. Now this product has got a few different uses actually. It's fairly similar to the first dimensional medium in that if you put it through a stencil, you'll get a little bit of dimension, but it's fairly flat. And because it's the pearlescent, you've got that gorgeous shimmer. For this one, I mixed it on my glass mat with some of our, what did I use? Rose gold. The creamy acrylic paints come in metallics as well. So you've got the same, you've got the gold, the rose gold and the silver. So if you mix that with your pearlescent medium or any of your plain colours, you're going to get a lovely pearlescent finish to it. Now, if you think about it, you've got the whole range of acrylics, which have a lovely creamy matte finish. By mixing them with this, and then you can paint with them still. You could just mix this on your mat and paint it on, water it down if you need to. You're going to get a lovely shimmer. So you haven't got to buy pearlescent paints as well as the matte finish paints. You can just turn your acrylic paints into pearlescent. So that's really clever. Another thing about this paste is that you can paint with it. Pete, actually I hadn't played around with it to this extent, but Pete discovered that if you put it with some water in a spray bottle, you've got yourself a nice pearlescent spray. Let me grab some dark card and I'll just show you how fabulous it is. So you can watercolour with it. If you wanted to, you could just put a bit on your glass mat, take a brush, add some water, and you can actually use it as a lovely shimmery watercolour. Add more water and you'll kind of dilute that down. So you can see there, really fabulous. Of course you can mix it with your acrylics, so if you want different colours you can do that. And then I've just put probably like half a teaspoon, if that, probably about 1/4 of a teaspoon, just a little scoop in this water spray, and as that dries you can really see the shimmer. So if you think about it, this pot is really got a lot of uses, and it's going to go a long way, because you know, you only need a tiny amount to then mix it with other things to get a lovely pearlescent finish. And just stenciling it, you know, it really is quite effective. The other thing is, I think with the white shimmer, it's going to be perfect for Christmas if you want to stencil that through a nice snowy backdrop stencil or something like that. So that's the Pearlescent Medium. Make sure I get that lid on properly. Next up, another paste. This is the Prism Paste, and this one is a gorgeous iridescent kind of shimmer. Let me just grab a bit of dark card again. Oh, I've got some here, haven't I? And this one, again, fabulous for using with a stencil. Let's just clean that pearlescent off of that. And you might think, yeah, I've got loads of sort of shimmery, glittery pastes. But if you look closely, this hasn't just got glitter in it. It's really got big old chunks of iridescent. So it's going to look quite spectacular when you pop it on, because you really do get those big old flakes of colour. This would be fantastic if you were creating a background for a kind of under the sea type project, something like that. Obviously great for Christmas. But, you know, I've got quite a few glittery pastes, but I haven't got one with big chunks of iridescent like that. And I think it's really quite striking. It does dry clear, so you just see the iridescent shimmer. So it will kind of change colour depending on what card you use it on. So it's kind of a universal colour, really. You know, if you want a nice glittery pink unicorn, use it on pink card and you'll get a lovely shimmery pink unicorn because it's clear. So that's a fabulous product. Great for putting through stencils, of course, as are the other pastes. So that's the Prism Paste. Last up on the mediums is the 3D Adhesive, and this works really well in conjunction with some of the foils and flakes we've got. So let me just clean my mat. And I haven't got them to hand, actually. I've made some fabulous projects with this, but they're in the house. Let's open this up. Now you will find, because obviously this is glue, that when you use this, your plastic lid will start to stick. So you might need to use a pokey tool just to prise that off. It's kind of inevitable when it's glue. Lovely big pot. And this adhesive, the special quality of this is that when it dries, it stays tacky. And you need that for when you're using flakes and foils, because obviously when a glue's wet, it moves around. So you don't want to be pushing down on wet glue with flakes, because you're just going to get a mush. So you kind of need it to dry but still be sticky. So I've just popped some of this on some card. This one here has just got some of the silver foil on. This one's got a bit of the rose gold on. This one's got the flakes on it. We will look at the flakes in the foil in a second. And what you do is you would just put some on your project. Of course, you could use this for a stencil, and it will take, if you've got a thin layer like that, it will only take about 5-10 minutes to dry. You'll know that it's dry because it will change. You can see on this one where I haven't covered all of it in foil, it will change from white to completely clear, and when you touch it you can feel it's tacky. So once it's at the tacky stage, you can take your flakes. Let's grab, actually we'll go for the gold because I've already got them in this big old tub. So you can take your flakes or your foil, whichever product you want to use, and because that's tacky, it will stick. So you can just rub it on, and wherever you've got the glue, that gold is going to stick to it. So great for home decor projects, any of your mixed media projects really, but also for card making. So that's the glue. The other thing you can do with the glue actually is, if you want, it's great for using for stencils, but maybe you've got some background stamps that you really like and you can actually stamp with it. I used a Tim Holtz stamp for this. I would say if you're going to use this to stamp with, use your red rubber stamps. I wouldn't try it with clear stamps. I think they'd be a bit hard to clean the glue off and you might ruin them. Whereas red rubber stamps are much more resilient to you sort of using paints and different messy things with them. They're easier to clean. And what I did is I put some of the glue on my glass mat, and then I took a piece of foam. Let me grab the bit of foam and show you. I've got this old bit of cut and dry foam, and all I did was put some glue on the mat, dabbed it with this, and then I just kind of inked up my stamp with the glue, pressed it down on my card, and then I left it for 5 minutes to go clear, and then I was able to just rub some gold flakes over it. So another use for it. So that's the 3G adhesive. We'll look at the flakes and the foils next actually, while we're talking about the adhesive, because there are other ways to use those aside from with this adhesive. I would say if you're going for the foils or the flakes, get some of this adhesive because it really does open up lots of different ways of using it. But you can also use the flakes and the foils with other types of adhesive. So let me bring in, so there's my foils. As I say, I've decanted my gold into this bigger tub just because it makes it easier to collect the waste. And then I've got the rose gold and the silver. The foils, decorative foil sheets, again they come in the same colours. So you've got silver, rose gold, and where's my gold? Somewhere here it is, and gold. So you've got 3 different colours, and these are lovely colour actually, thin foil sheets. And the idea is wherever you've got adhesive, actually I'll bring back that I can remember where I put it, yeah, that one that still had the dry glue on it. So we'll use silver so it'll show. You can see on this particular one I hadn't covered all the adhesive. Now these are very fine, so you'll think you've got one sheet and you've got several. And it's the same principle as the flakes. If you just rub where you've put down the 3D adhesive, you're going to get it sticking. And it's great that you can do that because you can mix the colours if you want to. You can have a bit of silver, a bit of gold. And again, for home decor projects, this is great. I've done quite a few flower pots where I've literally got some of the glue on my finger and kind of smeared it around the bottom of the pot, let it dry, and then rubbed foil on it, and they look really fabulous. The other thing you can do with these is they will stick to double-sided tape. Let's grab a bit of card. Let's have a bit of pink card. And So I'll grab some double-sided tape. Now, double-sided tape is great if you want sort of really nice, neat stripes or something. So we can use that. Let's go for the rose gold. And all you would do, same thing, just place it on top. Rub it down and you'll get a gorgeous stripe of colour. Lovely for card making. You can use your tape runners. So let me grab a tape runner. Same thing. Like so. And if you've got double-sided adhesive sheets, you can die cut those. So then you can go into the realms of, I haven't got one to hand. You can get into the realms of covering some card with the adhesive, die cutting so that the adhesive is on top, then you peel the adhesive backing off and you've basically got a die cut that's completely covered in adhesive on the front, so you can add foil to that way. So great for your alphabet stamps if you want to add some nice dimension with having card backing, but then the lovely shine. Because I have to say, you know, you can use embossing powders and things like that to get a nice metallic effect, but you cannot beat foil for the real shine that you get. So that's the different ways of using the foil. Let's pop those to one side. Now the flakes, same principle really. Any adhesive, so you can put down your glue, your 3D adhesive. But with these, let's grab the gold again since it's in this big pot. I would recommend putting this into bigger pots as well, because you'll see quite quickly you get all these little stray bits and you don't want to waste them really. So you can cover this. Now everyone was laughing at me actually when I was at Create and Craft, because they said they'd never seen anyone put on foil as neatly as I do, because most people would have it in a big pot and would literally just grab handfuls of it and rub it on like so. But I'm a bit of a tidy freak, so I literally pick it up piece by piece. But if you're not as neat and tidy as me, you can just do it that way, and then you can take a brush to just get rid of any stray bits. And you'll see the difference there. With the flakes you get a slightly more matte finish, with the foil you get that high shine, whereas the flakes, it's more like a brushed metal effect. So, and of course with the flakes you can also mix the colours more easily if you want to have a real sort of variegated look. So that's the foils and the flakes. We've got one more metallic thing to show you, and that's, we've got aluminium sheets. Again, in the same three colourways. Let me grab them back. So we've got silver, rose gold and gold. Now these have a lovely shine, same as the foil sheets, but these are backed with adhesive and they're a bit thicker actually. So these are great if you want to die cut alphabets, because it's already got the sticky on the back. So whatever you die cut from this is basically then a sticker. So fabulous for that. The other thing with these is you can actually emboss them. Let me grab an embossing folder. And let's just put a bit of this through an embossing folder. Let's just trim some. There we go. So we'll run that through. Bear with me, my big shot's just slightly off camera, so I'll just quickly whiz this through. And back. And you can see you've got that beautiful embossing, the lovely metallic feel to it, but it is literally a sticker because I've got this adhesive backing on it. So I could pop that straight onto a card like so, and I've got lovely realistic metal effect. So lots of different uses for that. I can see me using it a lot with my alphabet dies because it's a really quick way of personalising something, because you haven't got to worry about gluing it down or anything. You can literally die cut your letters from whichever metallic you want and pop them straight on your project. So you can see the colours there. So you've got a lovely gold, you've got the rose gold and the silver. So that's the aluminium, or aluminum if you're in America, and you get 10 sheets of that, 6 by 6, so you get 10 sheets of each in each pack. Same with the foil sheets, I should have mentioned actually. You get 10 sheets of each in those as well. And you'll find that goes quite a long way actually, because most of the time you'll find you're just kind of doing little strips of metallic, in which case you'll get tons of use from one sheet. So I think you'll get quite a lot out of those. So that's all the mediums. We've gone through all of the foils. So we've got the waxes and the paints. Let's have a look at the paints next. I've just grabbed a few colours. There is quite, I think we've got 15 colours so far of these. I hope and assume they'll be bringing out more, because you might recognise the colour names. These acrylic paints are designed to work with all of our coloured cardstock. So these are the same colours. If you've got our cardstock packs, you will know. I'm just grabbing hibiscus because I've got hibiscus here. If you've got our coloured cardstocks, then these are colour matched. So also if you've got any of our beads and sequins, same colour story. So all of our products are designed to mix and match together and to take you through, you know, you're not going to have clashing colours because they are all the same colour palette. So as I say, at the moment we've got 15 colours in these, and let me grab more actually to show you. I haven't got all of them here, but there's a really fabulous selection, a nice rainbow really. You've kind of got the hibiscus, which is almost red, and you've got a couple of different pinks, you've got a couple of yellows, you've got a couple of greens, you've got a lovely, this agave is one of my favourites, and you've got a lighter blue, and of course you've got a lilac, and then you've got a black and a white. So you're not limited to these colours obviously, because they're acrylic and you've got black and white. So you can lighten any of them with the white, darken with the black, and then of course you can mix them. Now the next thing to mention is the quality. Let's pop some on my mat. Let's clear a bit of a space. These are very creamy. Would help if I took the lid off. They're very creamy and they're very thick. So a little goes a long way. You will also probably notice the packaging. These are 60ml. Now I won't show you the brand name, but if I just grab a bottle that I've got on the side of the sort of flip top types, these are 50ml. So you're getting more in this than your usual, you know, just for comparison. You know, if you're looking at the cost of different paints and getting a comparison. I'll grab a bit of white card and let's bring my brush back. Now these are very thick and creamy, but they're acrylic, so they're water based. So you can see straight away they are very thick and creamy. There's a lot of texture to this. So if you want to, you can water them down. Depending on what you're doing with them, obviously. You know, if you were colouring in a stamped image or something and almost watercolouring with them, then you wouldn't want them full thickness, because that really is quite thick and creamy. But if you're covering something, if you're creating a background, or if you're painting some MDF to use for a home decor project, then obviously that thick creaminess means you're probably only going to need to give it one coat. So really high quality, really lovely paints, and you can see they just go on beautifully. This is Watercolor Cards. Let's grab a brighter colour actually, so you can see. So this is the hibiscus, and you can really see how creamy that is. And of course you can mix these with your dimensional paste. So you know, if you want to really get some texture on a project, mix your creamy paint with a bit of that, and you're going to get you know, something you can put on with a palette knife and really get some texture. So these products all work really well together. So we've got one more thing to look at with the acrylic paints, and that's is the 3 metallic finishes that we've got. So we've got gold, rose gold and silver. Let me move this one out of the way. Let's grab another bit of card. Let's just wipe up my mess actually. There we go. And then I'll show you these in action because these are really quite beautiful. So they come in the same tube. So again, you're getting 60 milliliters. And I'll pop them on my glass mat first. So this is the silver. Pop some there. I really like using acrylic paints because of the coverage you get, particularly if you are doing home decor projects. You can't beat that real opaque finish that you get with these. So that's the rose gold, which I think actually is quite copperish. I would say it's more of a copper than a rose gold. And that's the gold. And what I like about this gold paint is that it's a nice classy gold. A lot of golds are a bit too yellow for my liking. This is like a sort of brass gold almost, and it's beautiful colour. You see how creamy these are, and what a lovely opaque finish you get with them. Obviously I'm only putting 1 coat on, but it's already opaque. So let's do the rose gold. You can see straight away you've got great coverage. Now my brush is wet actually, and you can see that's kind of watered that down a bit, which of course you can do if you want them to go on a bit finer. There we go. And just rinse my brush. And then we've got the silver. Again, my brush is a bit wet, so I added a bit of water to that without meaning to. But you can see, really opaque and a real lovely metallic shine to them. Again, you could be mixing these with the paste, so you can get a lovely dimensional paste with a metallic finish if you want to. So really, really lovely colours. So that's the acrylic paints. We've just got one thing left to look at. I'm sorry this video is a bit long, but it's just so many things. We've got the waxes, the luster waxes. These are probably my favourite product. These are probably my favourite product of all. I really love these. Let me grab, I've got some bits of embossed card actually. Now you've got the 3 metallics. So you've got your silver, gold, rose gold. We have another colour in this which is called Lilac Rainbow, and it's basically a kind of iridescent finish. I'll pop some, we'll start with that one actually. Let's grab a bit of dark cards. I've got some navy cards here that I've embossed, and I would say with these, pop some either on a bit of card. It's probably easier to do a bit of card first. Don't go straight onto your project, because the likelihood is you'll have, you know, as I've got there, you can see sort of globby bit of wax. If you just dab it onto some card first, you're going to get a much smoother finish. And you can see this one particular has got this lilac shimmer to it. Let's hold that up so you can see. And obviously it will look different on different colour cardstocks. Let's put a bit on the corner of this light blue, and you'll see you get a much less vibrant, you've got a much more subtle look on the light aqua card. So that's Lilac Rainbow. Let's move that to one side. Next up, let's look at the gold. Now I need to tell you a few things about these actually. These are you get 20 milliliters in here. in a glass jar, this is going to last you an awful long time if you think about how much you're actually using each time. And I should mention the smell, because if you've been using waxes for a long time, you know most of them really have a strong smell, like a strong like furniture polish type smell. These are scented with orange oil, so they smell absolutely beautiful. Now you can either put this on with your finger as I did, or if you want to, when you're using embossing folders, I quite like to use a foam pad, because I know if I'm using a foam pad, I do still dab it onto my mat first just to make sure I haven't got any globs on there. But then I find, because this is flat, whereas my finger does tend to go in all the nooks and crannies, you do get a better even covering that's only on the high spots. And you can see the rich colour of these. This gold is just beautiful. Here we go. So that's the gold. Let's have a look at the rose gold next. Now the texture of these is more wax-like than, I know that sounds a bit odd to say a wax is wax-like, but if you've been using waxes for a while, you'll know that a lot of them kind of went hard after a while, and you quite often, even if you'd only used them a couple of times, you had to kind of get them going a bit because they kind of dried up a bit. These are a much more like a paste really. The texture of this is much creamier. And here's the rose gold, which I've put on here so you can see it next to the gold. And you can see it's just that slightly darker, lovely rose colour. And on the green, it's just stunning, I think. And then we've got the silver. So let's grab another foam piece for the silver. And let's put the silver on here. Again, pop it on your mat first just to make sure you haven't got any globs. And you don't need to press down, just skim it over the surface. Now this looks fabulous. Actually, let's go for the darker as well. This looks fabulous on dark cards. If you put it on black, it really looks like pewter. So really, really fabulous effect. So there you can see all the colours. So we've got the gold, the rose gold, the silver, and then the lilac rainbow. Really fabulous. And that's it, I think. Yes, we've gone through everything. I'm sorry this video was so long, but I really wanted to explain everything. I know a lot of Sizzix sort of regular customers are very much die cutters, and like me, kind of mainly card makers. So all this sort of pastes and mediums might be new to you. So I did want to really go back to basics on this video. So I'm sorry for those of you that have been doing mixed media a while and might have found this a bit boring. I will put links in the description box here on YouTube to all of these products, just so you can see the names and remind yourself of what's what, and I'll put links to different places you can get them as well, depending on where you are. I've got links to different shops in the States and the UK, so hopefully you'll find a stockist near you for them all, and hopefully you're going to enjoy using these as much as I do. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.